Hello and welcome to another video. In 2010, the results for the UK general election went as so. Beforehand, Labour had a vast majority in both seats and in votes. However, it was slashed from the previous election in 2001. Afterwards, there is a different picture, with no overall victor leading to a coalition between the Tories and Lib Dems. The Liberal Democrats were massively underrepresented in the Commons in that election. As for 2015, the situation worsened. Beforehand, the Tories were in a shaky coalition with the Liberal Democrats. Afterwards, they had been awarded with enough seats to become a solitary government. The votes showed that the Tories did gain, and Labour did lose, alongside with a few smaller parties gaggling up the remainder of the Lib Dem losses in votes. Though that's not an entirely accurate story, as the Lib Dem votes went to the Tories. In second or most seats of Labour, where it would normally have assumed Tory position, it was UKIP. This means that whilst UKIP got a mass of 1 million votes, it only had one seat. The current dialect is that the SNP budged in without many votes, gaining 56 seats in Scotland out of 59, which is in part due to the Scottish historic constituencies having far fewer voters than the rest of them. So we can tell that there is certainly a problem, however big or small, with our voting system, and it might not all be to do with the Scottish historic constituencies. The system is called first past the post, named so due to the winner-takes-all aspect, mirroring races. Therefore we must diagnose the problems of the system, and to do so, I have composed a hypothesis. To ignore the Scottish historic constituencies. Say we have a constituency called North West Albion after the name of Britain under the Celts. Within, we have a voter sporting their socialist red colours, another sporting their capitalist blues, and two arbitrators, centrists, in yellow. Overall, the centrists would have double both the capitalists and the socialists, making them the winner of the election. Under first past the post, the centrists would gain one seat, the socialists and capitalists would gain none. This representative in this constituency would therefore represent 50% of the overall voters, whilst the other 50% went unrepresented. This, in Britain at least, is a fair system, with the representation of at least half the electorate. So say we have the same seat, North West Albion, but instead with 40 socialist voters, and another 40 capitalist voters, and then the centrists have overall 45. The votes are very close, with a slight lead for the centrists. Once again, under first past the post, the results would be as follows. One centrist member and no members for either socialist or capitalist voters. The member in this case would represent close to what the current government does, 36% of the voters in the constituency, whilst the socialists and the capitalists have no member, meaning a lion's share of 64% are not represented. The diagnosis is obvious. Waste. The wasted voters are not only voters of a different party than their constituency party, or the winning party in the constituency, but as the 1951 election shows, with Attlee having more votes than his counterpart Churchill, although it was slim, 0.8%, he had 26 less seats in the Commons. The constituency-based model allows for masses of one party to be secluded within few constituencies. The system means that every vote not for the winning candidate is wasted, but it also means that every vote for the candidate above the one additional vote from the second best candidate is also wasted. So now we have a good diagnostic. Let's cure this disease. There are a few main systems we can look into, and the first is the obvious counter to first past the post. First past the post is undemocratic, and so we will look at proportional representation. Israel uses a system of proportional representation, which usually comes up with coalitions. However, this system is volatile, as it causes the minor parties to have more power in choosing the system. For instance, this year's election came out with the results of Likud, Benjamin Netanyahu's party, having 30 seats of 120. Likud have formed a government with a mass of parties, centrist Kulanu, fundamentalist Shas and the UTJ, and extremist Jewish Home. In PR systems, percentage number of votes equals percentage number of MPs. So take Albion into PR. The centrists in this system will start with 2 voters of the 4, so the representatives would be 2 of 4 of the House. Now, the centrists may try to create a minority government with half the House. However, they will also be forced with another half of the House, so they may want a coalition. In this case, they are choosing the capitalists. This means that a total of 75% of the electorate are not only represented, but also in government. However, say we go back to the more realistic example. In this case, we have 3 parties with vast representation, but no party with enough votes to warrant their government. This leaves the centrists trying to go with the capitalists, but this time the capitalists say no. This leaves them with only one choice, the socialists. However, it also means the socialists have 2 choices, both to pick the centrists and to pick the capitalists, as either way they will have a majority in the House. This gives the socialists the pick of the government, making them the power broker. Then they have the roots in both of the party, leverage over policy of both other. Essentially, this happens to a worser extent in Israel. I hope you enjoyed the first and hopefully a long line of videos. I'm starting from here because why not? Anyway, now we have ruled out 2 systems. Where are we to go next? Additional member system, as used in Germany and Scotland. Alternative vote plus, as proposed by the UK by the Lib Dems in the referendum. Or single transferable vote, as used in Ireland. Click to pick, and I hope I see you next time.